A boy from a long line of avatars wakes up after being frozen in the ocean for 100 years. He must learn to control the four elements, fight dangerous creatures, and bring an end to the war destroying his world. The story starts with a chase in the Fire Nation's capital city. Fire soldiers chase a man who can bend earth through the streets. They catch him and bring him to Fire Lord Sozin. The Fire Lord shares his plan to start a war, find the hidden airbending avatar, and kill him. He burns the earthbender to death. The opening explains the avatar cycle and introduces a young airbender named Aang, who may not be ready to control all four elements and keep peace in the world. At the Southern Air Temple, Aang's teacher Gyatso talks with the Airbending Council. He feels Aang is not ready to be the avatar, but they may not have time to wait. Gyatso tells Aang the news. Aang is shocked and scared, so he goes for a ride with his flying bison Appa. Shortly after, the Fire Nation suddenly attacks the Southern Air Temple. A comet in the sky gives the firebenders extra power. They take over the whole temple, and Gyatso dies protecting a group of children. Aang and Appa get caught in a storm and are pulled under by a huge wave. Right before drowning, Aang glows blue and seals himself inside a ball of ice. At Wolf Cove in the Southern Water Tribe, we meet Katara and her brother Sokka. They go fishing, and Sokka tells Katara to hide her waterbending ability. An iceberg bursts open and shoots a blue light into the sky. A young Fire Nation boy with a scar on his face looks pleased to see it. Aang comes out of the broken iceberg unconscious. Katara insists they bring him back to the village, even though Sokka disagrees. The scared boy is Prince Zuko, who is sent away from the Fire Nation until he finds the Avatar. His uncle Iroh watches over him. Aang wakes up confused, as if from a bad dream. Katara's grandmother tells him he was frozen for 100 years and is the last surviving airbender. Zuko's ship arrives at Wolf Cove. Sokka reluctantly hides Aang, but loses a fight to Zuko. Aang gives himself up to protect the Water Tribe. Iroh has a short talk with Aang on Zuko's ship. Then Aang escapes with help from Appa, Sokka, and Katara. Since Katara and Sokka can no longer stay, they travel with Aang to the Southern Air Temple. When Aang finds Gyatso's bones, he is filled with grief and glows blue again, releasing great power. The memory of his friendship with Gyatso calms him. Aang promises to master the Avatar's ways and bring balance back to the world. Prince Zuko is very angry. Aang escaped and took his notebook. Using the notebook, Aang decides to visit the home of a past avatar named Kyoshi. Katara talks Sokka into staying with Aang instead of going back home. Aang pays his respects to Gyatso, and then they all head to Kyoshi Island. A flying lemur from the island joins them, which Sokka is not happy about. Aang names him Momo. Uncle Iroh advises Zuko to be calm and smart instead of using force, and also mentions his love for sticky rice. When Aang, Sokka, and Katara arrive at the island, they are captured by a skilled group of fighters called the Kyoshi Warriors, who do not use bending. One of them, a young woman named Suki, persuades her mother Yukari to let the group stay for 48 hours. Suki and Sokka show some romantic interest in each other. Zuko and Iroh's meeting with Commander Zhao goes badly. Zhao does not trust them but finds a clue about the Avatar. Aang discovers he can connect with past avatars within himself. In a deep meditation, he glows again and learns from Avatar Kyoshi directly. She tells him the glow is called the Avatar state, which lets him use the power and knowledge of all past avatars. But he must train hard and master all four elements to fully control this power. While Aang is in the Avatar state, Commander Zhao arrives and prepares to search the town for an outsider. The Kyoshi warriors fight back. Zuko and Iroh find Aang at Kyoshi's shrine. Zuko beats Katara in a fight, but Aang uses Avatar Kyoshi's power and steps in to help. He fully transforms into Kyoshi herself, and she scares the Fire Nation soldiers away. With a clearer understanding of his responsibilities, Aang leaves Kyoshi Island. He is heading to the Northern Water Tribe to warn them of a danger he saw during his meditation. Suki and Sokka share a kiss, and she gives him a steel folding fan, the weapon the Kyoshi warriors are known for. Sokka is now fully committed to staying with Aang, Katara, Appa, and Momo. Commander Zhao agrees to work with Zuko and Iroh to catch the Avatar. However, he secretly writes a letter to Fire Lord Ozai, telling him that the Avatar has returned. Zuko's sister, Princess Azula, leads a small group of rebels straight to Fire Lord Ozai. Ozai defeats them easily. Katara has trouble learning the moves from her waterbending scroll. Zuko has trouble agreeing on a plan to catch the Avatar. Aang and his friends sneak into the Earth Kingdom city of Omashu, following someone who looks like another airbender. The boy turns out to be Teo, not an airbender. He flies using a machine built by his father, Sai. They meet during a Fire Nation bombing. Aang decides to stay and help. We are introduced to Azula's friends, Mai and Ty Lee. Azula wants the throne and worries that Zuko will be ahead of her if he finds the Avatar. Katara finds out that Sai is secretly talking with the Fire Nation, and she runs into Jet, the boy who helped them sneak into Omashu. They track down Sai's contacts and fight them with the help of Jet's crew. Aang and Tu discover that someone else was behind the explosion. Katara and Jet connect over the pain they have both felt from the war. Jet tells her to think of happy memories of her mother when she bends. This finally helps her successfully perform the water whip. Sokka, Aang, and Katara cannot agree on whether Sai or Jet caused the explosion. Zuko and Iroh arrive in Omashu, while Zhao begins plotting with Azula. Jet admits he was behind the bombings and plans to blow up both Sai and the king for working with the Fire Nation. Zuko and Iroh confront Aang, while Sokka and Katara rush to save Sai and Tio. Zuko and Aang fight, but Zuko holds back from using firebending to avoid being exposed in the Earth Kingdom. When Aang reveals that he reads Zuko's journal, Zuko loses control and uses fire, forcing him to flee. Sokka and Katara ride the large delivery slides to the top of Omashu. Katara uses the water whip to stop Longshot's fire arrow before it can set off the bomb. Sai, Tio, and the Earth King are saved. Iroh openly uses firebending to draw the soldiers away from Zuko. Surprisingly, Aang is captured by Earth Kingdom soldiers. In the dark dungeons of Omashu, Aang and Iroh sit in cells next to each other and talk about the war. Sai admits to his son Tio and Sokka that he really was working with the Fire Nation. The Earth King calls for Aang. It turns out King Bumi is Aang's childhood friend, which makes him about 110 years old. He jokes about it, but Bumi has become a little odd. Katara confronts Jet about his plan to blow up Sai and King Bumi. She freezes him to a wooden post and walks away. Zuko steals an Earth soldier's uniform and sneaks into the dungeons to free Uncle Iroh. To save Aang, Sokka and Katara learn the story of two lovers who built Omashu. A musician tells them the story and points them toward a secret tunnel through the mountain. Zuko turns back to find Iroh, who is being taken to a place called the Pit. Zuko finds a white lotus tile that Iroh dropped to show where he was. Iroh is mistreated along the way because of his past role in the Battle of Ba Sing Se. People call him heartless, but a flashback shows him grieving the death of his son. Sokka and Katara argue in the tunnels but end up having an honest talk. Bumi puts Aang through a series of strange games and scolds him for missing 100 years of war. It all leads to a fight between the two, said to be to the death. Zuko catches up to Iroh and together they overcome the Earth Kingdom soldiers. Iroh spares the soldier who tried to kill him, though the soldier wounds Iroh. Giant badger moles, the same creatures that taught Oma and Shu earthbending, burst through the tunnels and lead Katara and Sokka to the palace. King Bumi makes clear that his games were his way of showing his frustration at feeling abandoned by Aang. He wanted Aang to understand what it feels like to face impossible choices. Bumi tries to force Aang to either kill him or let himself die, arguing that friends cannot be trusted. Just then, Katara and Sokka arrive. With their help, Aang saves himself and spares King Bumi. Aang says that it is only by relying on friends that he will be able to save the world. He also still has the bison whistle Bumi made for him long ago, which wins Bumi over. Sai tells King Bumi about the Fire Nation spies in Omashu, giving the Earth Kingdom time to prepare for an attack. Zuko and Iroh reflect on their bond and how they have supported each other, especially after Iroh's son died and after Zuko was sent away and his face was freshly injured. There is a quick clash with Fire Nation soldiers. Katara is getting much better at waterbending. Aang feels responsible for the firebenders continuing to destroy the world. A nearby village complains that the forest is sick and that people are going missing. Aang says this is a spirit world problem and promises to help. Fire Lord Ozai sees through Azula's sweet words and realizes she is trying to take the throne for herself. The group finds a shrine to the forest spirit. Aang meditates and brings all three of them into the spirit world. Zuko finds out that everyone already knows the Avatar has returned. A mercenary named June arrives with her large hunting animal called a Shirshu. Iroh and Zuko hire June to track down Aang. The owl spirit of knowledge warns Aang that Sokka and Katara should not be in the spirit world. Then the angry forest spirit attacks the group. Katara relives the death of her mother. Sokka relives the day he became a water tribe warrior. He barely passed the test, and his father questioned his ability to lead. Both of them are then faced with a man wearing a frightening mask. Aang's strong spiritual ability helps him avoid being pulled back to his home. The masked man then reveals himself as Ko, the face stealer, a terrifying, slithering creature. Aang runs away and finds a small hut. Inside, Gyatso is waiting for him. Gyatso explains that Ko uses a fog of lost souls to trap people inside their worst memories. He has taken Sokka, Katara, and the villagers to his lair to consume them. Gyatso gives Aang powerful advice that also speaks to the situations of both Zuko and Azula. Aang leaves the spirit world and sets off to rescue his friend's souls. We are shown the meaning behind the title right away. Before Zuko got his scar, he seemed much happier. He is excited to attend his first battle strategy meeting with his father, Fire Lord Ozai. Zhao is promoted from commander to admiral. He uses this new rank to take authority away from Zuko. The crew is relieved to be free of Zuko's leadership, but Iroh warns them that they do not know what Zuko has given up. Aang visits the shrine of Avatar Roku, who was a firebender. The monks guarding the shrine are no longer peaceful and attack Aang. A humble man named Shiu holds the monks back while Aang connects with Roku through the shrine. Roku tells Aang about the totem he took from Ko. Aang hopes to trade it to get Katara and Sokka back. Instead, June captures him right away and hands him over to Iroh and Zuko. In a battle strategy meeting from years ago, Zuko speaks without being asked. He calls a general's plan to sacrifice an entire battalion terrible. Ozai demands that Zuko fight an Agni Kai as punishment. Zhao takes control of Aang. Iroh advises patience before making a move to get the Avatar back. A mysterious person wearing a blue mask sneaks into the fortress where Aang is held and frees him. The two fight their way to the front gate. Because Zhao needs the Avatar alive, he lets them go after the blue spirit threatens to kill Aang. An archer shoots and breaks the blue spirit's mask, revealing Zuko underneath. Aang carries Zuko to safety. Aang tries to connect with Zuko while he recovers in a barn. In a flashback, Zuko learns he will be fighting his own father instead of the general he insulted. They fight, but Zuko refuses to burn his father even when he gets the chance. Zuko is badly burned on his face as punishment. Ozai then banishes Zuko from the Fire Nation unless he comes back with the Avatar. When Zuko wakes up on his boat, Aang calls out from the shore and asks if they could have been friends in different circumstances. Zuko responds by attacking. Aang simply pushes his boat away. Iroh tells the story of Zuko's scar to the crew's lieutenant and explains that they are the very battalion that was meant to be sacrificed. They are alive only because Zuko stood up for them. When Zuko returns to the boat, the crew all bow to him. Aang returns the totem to Ko and rescues Katara and Sokka. The rest of the villagers also find their way home. Zhao used information as a trap. He had filled Zuko's boat with explosives, and it blows up. Zuko appears to be dead. Aang is now more comfortable with not having all the answers. He is thankful for his friends, and Katara names their Gru Team Avatar. They reach the Northern Water Tribe, who already sense that the Fire Nation is about to attack. Iroh suspects Ozai ordered Zuko's killing, and Zhao proudly announces that he will lead an attack on the Northern Water Tribe. Katara speaks with Master Pakku and shares her struggles with him. Sokka is immediately taken by Yu. After talking to her, he remembers that in the spirit world, a three-tailed fox wearing her headpiece spoke to him in her voice. The Water Tribe leaders are let down by how little training and preparation Aang has. Katara learns to heal injuries using waterbending, but finds out that women in the north are not allowed to learn combat bending. Aang visits Avatar Kuruk's shrine and speaks with him. Kuruk warns Aang that he must walk his path alone, or the people he loves will be hurt. Yu admits to Sokka that she was the fox he saw in the spirit world. When she was a baby and close to death, the moon spirit gave her some of its essence to save her. Because of this, Yu can visit the spirit world in her dreams. She kisses Sokka. Master Pakku refuses to let Katara train or fight. Aang tells Katara she should not fight and that everyone will be safer if he is alone. Zhao's plan to attack the Water Tribe is daring, but he ignores Iroh's warning. Zuko is actually still alive and is hiding under Fire Nation armor. He is determined to prove himself but has no plan for capturing the Avatar. Iroh begins to suspect that Zhao is being used by someone. Azula is frustrated with how Ozai treats her. She bends lightning and demands a chance to prove herself. Ozai gladly agrees. Sokka and Katara give each other strength. Katara challenges Pakku to a fight. It is an intense duel and Katara holds her ground, but Pakku still refuses to give her his blessing to fight. Katara and Sokka tell Aang that how he lives as the Avatar is his own choice. They also remind him that they are family, and while worrying about each other is natural, no one can stop Katara from fighting. They are all in this together. Team Avatar quickly defeats a Fire Nation battleship. Zuko tries to sneak into the city as the Fire Nation begins bombing the Water Tribe's ice wall. Master Pakku finally agrees to let the women take a more active role in the fight. He even sends young male soldiers to serve under Katara's command. Zhao plans to use a celestial event called the Ice Moon to his advantage. On this night, the barrier between the spirit world and the physical world becomes weak. Zhao intends to use Avatar Kuruk's special knife to kill the moon spirit. Kuruk tells Aang that these elemental spirits are even more powerful than the Avatar. Momo saves a little girl from a falling rock, but gets crushed under it in the process. Yude and Sokka rush Momo to a sacred hot spring grove, the same place Yu was brought as a sick baby. Yu places Momo in the most sacred waters and heals him. Sokka, feeling relieved, finally admits openly that he loves Momo. Shao and Iroh arrive at the sacred grove looking for the moon spirit. Katara faces off against Zuko. Meanwhile, Aang meets up with Sokka and Yu. Shao finds the moon spirit, which appears as a white koi fish with a black dot, swimming in circles with another koi fish that has a white dot. Shao pulls the fish out of the spring and the world turns red. Iroh threatens Zhao and Aang tries to reason with him, but Shao kills the moon spirit anyway. All the waterbenders lose their powers and the world turns gray. In a desperate last effort, Aang sacrifices himself to the water spirit. Through Aang, the spirit releases its rage and destroys the Fire Nation soldiers, but now the spirit will wander the earth endlessly searching for its lost partner, causing destruction wherever it goes. Then Yu, who carries part of the moon spirit inside her, steps into the spring and sacrifices herself. In doing so, she becomes the moon spirit. The moon returns to the sky, and the waterbenders get their powers back. Because the water and moon spirits, which push and pull together, are reunited, Aang is freed from his bond to the water spirit. In the chaos, Zuko and Zhao fight. Zuko defeats Zhao, who then reveals everything. Zhao had been following orders from Azula. She knew Zuko was the blue spirit and helped plan the plot to kill him. On top of that, Zuko's mission to capture the Avatar was never real. It was false hope from the start. Once it began to seem possible, Ozai simply used it to push Azula forward. She is now next in line for the throne. After the battle, Pakku asks Katara to stay and help train new waterbenders as a master. She politely says no. She tells Pakku that she will teach Aang waterbending herself, and Pakku agrees there is no one better suited to teach the Avatar. Reunited, Katara and Sokka talk to Aang about moving forward. They convince him that he is not responsible for the past 100 years of war. Drawing on lessons from Jatso, Aang finally feels ready to let go of the past and work towards shaping the future. Ozai used the attack on the Northern Water Tribe as a distraction to take over Omashu. Azula stands over a kneeling and chained King Bumi and proudly asks what comes next. A monk shows Ozai that Sozin's comet is on its way back. This was the same comet that gave the Firebenders extra power the night they destroyed the Southern Air Temple. Ozai is determined to take full advantage of this approaching event.
Aang is still on his journey to master all four elements. Water is done, fire and earth still remain. His mission is clear. Stop the Fire Tribe from swallowing the world whole. Fire Lord Ozai controls everything with absolute power, though cracks are beginning to show in that grip. Traveling with Sokka and Katara, Aang tears through a group of fire troops in the forest as they push toward the Earth Kingdom. His destination is Bumi, locked away inside a massive tower. But Bumi shocks him. He refuses rescue. Stranger still, he walked into captivity on purpose, choosing surrender over a bloodbath for his people. His message to Aang is simple but strange. Master neutral Jing. Empty the mind to become complete. It's cryptic, but it points Aang somewhere new. Back with Ozai, frustration boils over. His general has failed to push the conquest forward, so he strips them of command. Power shifts to Princess Azula, who proposes something smarter. Flood the gates with force. Pull all eyes there. Then slip quietly under Ba Sing Se's walls. Ozai nods but hands the military command to General Tran. Azula gets a different task. Bring Zuko home. Zuko, meanwhile, hides in plain sight with the disgraced Iroh. Life as a fugitive disgusts him. Manual labor feels insulting. He blames Iroh for everything and decides to hunt the Avatar alone, walking away. Back with Aang's group, Sai delivers urgent news. The southern shore is lost. They move fast through Serpent's Pass, beating the Fire Nation there by a thread. Peace doesn't last. A massive sea serpent surfaces and locks onto them. Aang pulls its focus while Suki, Sokka, and Katara fight it off together. Rather than destroy it, Katara uses water to heal the creature. It stills, studies them both, then disappears beneath the surface. Impressed, Suki floats the idea of Katara joining the Kyoshi warriors. She's caught off guard but doesn't dismiss it. The group presses deeper into the Earth Kingdom, searching for someone to teach Aang. Then comes the bigger threat. The Great Comet is closing in. The last time it appeared, Fire Lord Sozin wiped out every airbender alive. Its return will supercharge Fire Nation power across the board. Time is shrinking fast. Aang makes his call. Head to Ba Sing Se, protect the refugees, and convince the Earth King's armies to act before the comet arrives. Across the world, Azula gathers Ty Lee and Mai. She tests them by making them fight each other. No holding back. Watching them tear into each other with everything they have earns her trust. Both survive. The plan: chase the Avatar, and Zuko will surface along the way. Zuko drifts alone through empty, desolate land. Glimpses of the past fill in the picture: Azula and Zuko. Two people shaped by the same fire but burning completely differently. Zuko carries a code built on fairness and honor. It shows in how he moves through the world, just as it did back in that field encounter earlier. Now, he talks a group of bandits down without a fight. A boy named Peng watches it all unfold and decides the stranger is worth knowing. He invites Zuko home for dinner. Hungry and directionless, Zuko says yes. The contrast with Azula couldn't be sharper. While Zuko shares a meal, she's busy torturing men in the Earth Kingdom just to find out which way Aang went. Aang reaches Ba Sing Se and quickly understands this place runs on money. No funds, no entry. Word spreads fast about an earthbending competition with a massive prize. That's the answer. Before Aang even steps in, a blind girl appears and dismantles the boulder, a giant of a fighter, without breaking a sweat. Aang knows instantly, she's the one. She can teach him neutral Jing. She vanishes before he can reach her. Instead, a man named Ji Shen finds him, executive secretary to the Bifong family, old friends of Avatar Roku. He extends a dinner invitation to their manor. The Bifong daughter turns out to be Toph, the blind bandit herself. At dinner, Aang sees through it immediately, but she keeps the act going in front of her parents. Later that night, Toph meets Aang in the garden. She breaks it down. Neutral Jing is about sharpening every sense until the world around you becomes readable, knowable. But she's locked inside the Bifong name and everything that comes with it. Teaching him isn't something she can do. Back with Zuko, Peng brings him inside and tells his mother Faye that this man is good. Zuko resists the label but sits down anyway. After dinner he helps clean up, sharing nothing about himself. Faye reads him without him saying a word, lost, guarded, searching. She offers the barn for the night. Alone, a sound from his bag pulls him back into memory. His mother surfaces. She was the one who told him that courage isn't weakness. She gave him the story of the Blue Spirit, a protector of those with nothing. That belief still lives in him today. Morning comes. Zuko fixes Faye's roof as a quiet thank you. Meanwhile, Azula closes in on Aang's trail. More memories surface. Their mother had once tried to take both children away after discovering Ozay's plan to seize the throne and reduce them to tools. It failed. They both watched her disappear. In the present, Sokka and Suki cross paths with Ty Lee and Mai. A fight breaks out. It's messy and close, but they pull through. Then everything converges in town. Zuko and Azula meet, cold and hostile. Aang is right there. All three erupt into combat in the square. Zuko unleashes everything he has while Faye and Peng watch from a distance, speechless. Then Iroh appears. His presence alone changes the weight of the room. He tells Azula to stop. She zaps him and vanishes. Zuko pushes the others away. Toph shows up for the fight and makes her decision. She's joining Aang. But the Baifongs won't let her go quietly. They send Ji Shen in the boulder to drag her back. Toph wastes no time. Training starts immediately and she is ruthless about it, critiquing Aang constantly as they move. She senses something closing in. Rather than drag the whole group into it, Toph and Aang peel away to deal with it themselves. It turns out to be the boulder and Ji Shen. Toph sees the opportunity and tells Aang to stand his ground and take them both out. What follows is unexpectedly funny. The boulder and Ji Shen end up trying to coach the Avatar themselves. Aang eventually gives up on earthbending entirely and switches to water. Toph is not impressed. Elsewhere, Iroh works on Zuko. All that rage sitting inside him could be useful, but only if it's shaped into something controlled. Iroh introduces a technique he developed himself, built from the same lightning Azula used earlier. The catch, it's purely defensive, no attacking. Zuko needs to settle the war inside himself first. Iroh is firm on that. But peace doesn't last. The Fire Nation finds them again and Iroh refuses to turn back toward Ba Sing Se. Circumstances, however, force the issue. Faye reappears just in time, getting them onto a ferry before Azula can close the gap. Iroh takes a serious hit in the chaos. Zuko watches Azula's destruction from the deck as they pull away, then turns his focus to keeping Iroh alive. On the ferry, Zuko meets Jet, a soldier pushing for a raid on the captain's supplies. Medicine, food, things they need. Zuko resists at first, then gets involved. They succeed. Meanwhile, Aang and Toph reach Ba Sing Se and find it locked down. Soldiers everywhere. The whole group is separated into different cells. Toph's earthbending feels dulled here, less sharp than usual. She pivots fast. Using the Bifong name, she spins a story about urgent family business in the city. It works. The gang walks free. The refugees, though, stay behind. Aang thinks a quick conversation with the Earth King fixes everything. Instead, they get Ju Di, a guide assigned to walk them through the city and deflect every question about the king. The tour is pleasant on the surface. Every attempt to bring up the Earth King gets smoothly redirected. Toph reads it immediately. This is bureaucracy being used as a weapon. She tells the group to stay calm, be agreeable, and climb the ladder one rung at a time. Then Long Feng appears, cultural minister, polished and generous. Good news arrives with him. The king has granted asylum to the Omashan refugees, with food vouchers on the way. There's also a royal dinner that evening, and the Avatars group is invited. The others take this as a win. Toph doesn't buy it. Katara wanders off during the afternoon to talk to locals and gets pulled back in line by Ju Di. It confirms exactly what Toph has been saying. The group finally listens. They arrive at the dinner alert. General Sung greets them, supreme commander of the Outer Wall. She dismisses every concern about war as rumor, certain that Ba Sing Se is untouchable. Aang fumbles the interaction. Toph does the opposite. Several families recognize her and circle around with marriage proposals. Annoying but useful, it gets her into conversations that matter. When two women talk down about Toph, Katara bends a little revenge their way. Toph takes the wrong lesson entirely and decides being meaner is the answer. She channels that energy straight into pushing Aang harder, and this time something clicks. He holds his ground. Sokka finds his own moment connecting with Zai, an anthropology professor from Ba Sing Se University. They hit it off, but underneath the easy conversation, Sokka is sitting with regret. He never properly said goodbye to Suki, and the words he meant to say are still stuck inside him. King Kui finally enters. Aang moves toward him immediately, which is exactly the wrong move. The king turns away. Aang redirects and pulls Long Feng aside instead, laying out the comet situation plainly. Feng listens, then drops a rule nobody mentioned before. The king has banned all discussion of war inside the city walls. Anyone who raises it draws the guards instantly. Feng offers a deal. Let Aang use his reputation and his supposed spiritual influence to nudge the king from the inside quietly and slowly. Aang agrees. Toph doesn't trust a word of it. That night, something is off. Guards approach Sai and tell him the king wants to meet him, alone, immediately, at Lake Laogi. They put him in cuffs and take him away. Toph pulls Aang out of sleep early, training resumes before the city even wakes up. During the day, Long Feng walks Aang through the city, introducing him to residents. Sokka, meanwhile, is hunting for Sai. The workshop sits empty. Notes pile up with no response. Sokka takes the concern to Zai, who puts it plainly. Disappearances in the city aren't limited to books. Teachers who push too hard, students who organize, they vanish too. Zai warns that knowing about the Great Comet makes the whole group a liability in the king's eyes. They are already at risk. Zuko blends into the city, doing labor, keeping low. Iroh watches him closely. Katara, meanwhile, takes on a hidden role, slipping out at night to quietly help struggling residents, working in the shadows to make small things better. Zuko's conscience gets tested when Jet tells him about a group of Fire Nation soldiers who have reformed and are quietly living in the old stables nearby. A crowd of so-called concerned citizens plans to pay them a visit that night. Jet is among them. Zuko goes ahead alone to warn the soldiers first. They clock him as Fire Nation and want nothing to do with him. Katara, elsewhere, overhears soldiers in an alley talking about making the Fire Nation answer for what they've done. She pays attention. Iroh gets his own glimpse of the city's wounds when a woman takes to the street in protest, laying bare what the Fire Nation has cost these people. The king's guard grabs her and pulls her away fast. The city's cracks are impossible to ignore. Aang's training inches forward. He's beginning to move rocks with some control. But Toph sees the real problem. He's still anchored to the surface world, missing the vibrations underneath everything. She pushes him toward a blindfold to force his senses deeper. Elsewhere, Azula ambushes Suki. The fight is sharp and quick. Then Tran delivers unexpected news, orders from Ozai himself, telling them to stand down. The mission pauses. Back in the city, Toph corners Katara about the nightly disappearing act. She also lets her know that Aang is sharpening fast. His senses will catch her sneaking around soon enough. Then Lao finds Toph outside and drops something heavy. The Beifong family has been conducting business with the Fire Nation. If the Earth King discovers this, treason charges follow. The warning is clear. Stay careful. Ju Di intercepts the group as they stand outside Sai's empty workshop, offering an explanation. Sai is now working with the royal engineers at the palace. Nobody believes it. Long Feng then offers his own version. The Dai Li took Sai, he says, because they suspect him of being a Fire Nation spy with plans against the king. It's incomplete at best, but it's enough to stall any chance of reaching King Kui. Sokka and Toph have a quick amusing back and forth before getting down to the real issue, the blackmail situation. Sokka agrees to keep it between them for now. Bigger problems are stacking up. That night, someone tries to rob Iroh. He doesn't fight back. Instead, he talks the man down and invites him to sit and share a meal. It ends quietly. Jet's night goes differently. He leads his group to the reformed soldiers' camp, ready for a confrontation. Katara arrives and shifts things before it escalates, but Jet spots her and says her name aloud, blowing her cover. She has to run. Then General Sung appears at Aang's door, quietly, at night, away from any daily eyes. She confirms what's been building. The daily are everywhere, watching everything. She knows war is coming and asks Aang to carry the message to the king. In return, she wants him to push the army toward action. This is the moment Aang learns that Long Feng runs the daily, and that Long Feng has been managing him the entire time. He resisted at first, but when he tries again to reach the king and hits another wall, the truth lands. He brings the others up to speed, and in the shadows of the city, the identity of a mysterious masked figure is finally revealed. It is Zuko. Outside the walls, Azula arrives with her group. They use Tran as leverage to get through the gates. Their disguise, Kyoshi warrior uniforms, works without question. They walk straight in. Aang sits with Appa, quietly beating himself up over pushing Katara away. Talking it through out loud brings him to the obvious conclusion: just go and speak to her. Back at base, Toph fills him in. Katara left early to meet General Sung. With Ju Di confirmed as a spy, everyone needs to stay alert and think carefully about every move. Sung delivers the same warning to Katara. Long Feng is a different kind of opponent. She is quietly gathering allies willing to back Aang and help remove Long Feng from power. The next priority becomes the Spirit Library. Finding it could reveal when the comet hits and possibly unlock a path to defeating the Fire Nation entirely. Zay comes through with a scholarly scroll that points toward the library's location. The librarian has hidden it beyond the physical world, but a spirit scar, a thin spot between realms, marks the way in, somewhere in the lower ring. Sokka brings Zaya along for the search. Aang reminds everyone to tread carefully down there. He also carries a separate burden. Sung wants a real plan to defeat the Fire Nation, and right now Aang doesn't have one. Then Toph gets news that Lady Bifong is coming to the city to make peace. That reunion won't be simple. Meanwhile, Azula works the room. She wins over Long Feng and Ju Di, quickly picking up on the tension between them and Sung. She also notices that Long Feng has no idea Tran is being held inside the city. Useful information. Toph wanders into Iroh's tea shop. He's calm and content, settled into his work. He offers Zuko a job. Zuko declines. Iroh turns to Toph instead and speaks about family, about sacrifice, courage, and the importance of being honest with the people who matter. That night, the same words turn inward. Iroh tells Zuko he's been trying to mold him into someone else instead of letting him simply be himself. He owns that mistake and promises that no matter what Zuko chooses, his love isn't going anywhere. Katara faces down Jet and calls out his behavior, then reluctantly asks for his help finding the library. He knows the streets. He's the best option. Sokka is furious when he hears about Jet's history with Bumi, but Jet follows through anyway and leads them to the entrance. Aang guides everyone into meditation. The spirit realm opens and they step through. A giant owl waits inside. Wan Shitong, the librarian. Zay tries to connect with him as a fellow scholar, but centuries of humans weaponizing knowledge have made the librarian cold toward all of them. Zay cites the library's own rule. Visitors may browse freely in exchange for their own knowledge, as long as they swear not to use what they find to harm others. Wan Shitong allows it. The group spreads through the stacks. Aang encounters Yangchen, an air nomad, who listens as he recounts everything that's happened. She urges him to use the Avatar state against the Fire Nation, but with wisdom, not recklessness. Toph receives guidance from one of the Kyoshi. The comet's orbit is trackable and its arrival can be calculated. More importantly, during a solar eclipse, every firebender loses their ability completely. If an eclipse arrives before the comet, that becomes the moment to strike. Sokka follows a fox into a room lined with sky charts and begins working out the dates. Then Zuko slips in and stands over the spirit-projecting group. He almost acts. He pulls back at the last second and returns to Iroh, admitting he couldn't do it. The group isn't safe yet. Zay approaches Wan Shitong and offers to expose the others in exchange for permanent library access. The librarian listens, then points out that betraying people to harm them breaks the very rule Zay cited. His neck stretches out, sudden and massive, and Zay is gone. Everyone runs for the portal. Toph makes it through. The librarian closes in on the rest. Jet steps forward and holds the way open long enough for everyone else to escape. He doesn't make it out. When they return to their bodies, Jet's is missing. Then comes the next blow. Appa is gone too. Aang turns his anger on Toph over Appa's disappearance. A full night of searching turns up nothing. The group regroups and agrees, reaching the Earth King is now the only real path to finding Appa. Zuko, meanwhile, is burning with fever. Iroh frames it simply, fire is change, and if Zuko survives this one, it burns away the old version of him entirely. The fever pulls Zuko into his memories. His mother surfaces, warm and close. Then the harder ones, the moment she was taken, Azula and Ozai standing over him, telling him he means nothing. Strange visions of dragons weave through it all. Across the city, Azula draws her own conclusion from these thoughts of her brother. He needs to die. When Zuko finally wakes, something is different. The bitterness has cooled. He helps Iroh without being asked and even requests a place working at the tea shop. Azula, locked up after last episode, opens negotiations with Long Feng. She offers him names, generals quietly working to undermine him, in exchange for information about Zuko. Then, almost as an afterthought, she mentions that 20,000 firebenders are sitting outside the walls, ready to strike. Long Feng knows exactly who she is. He also believes his grip on the Avatar is enough to neutralize any outside threat. He walks away, but the confidence has a crack in it. The number rattles him. Sokka hatches a plan, hide inside giant wine casks, and roll straight into the palace. Somehow it works. All four of them make it inside without anyone stopping them. Katara pulls Aang aside before they move any further. He needs to be calm when he speaks to the king. Meanwhile, Long Feng tracks down General Sung and confronts her directly over the betrayal. He takes her daughter as leverage and sends Sung out to handle her own arrest, which leaves the group without their ally at exactly the wrong moment. Katara steps up and talks the king into listening. It works. He hears them out and starts to come around. Then Long Feng walks in with Sung at his side. She backs his version of events. Ba Sing Se is safe, the walls hold, everything is under control. Long Feng then turns on the group. Katara's nighttime activities get framed as troublemaking, and Toph's family connection to Fire Nation business gets aired in front of the king. Aang loses it. His composure breaks and he lashes out, which is the worst thing he could have done with the king watching. The fallout continues back with the group. Secrets that everyone has been sitting on start spilling out. The tension cracks everything open. Aang pushes them all away, overwhelmed by the weight of it. He ends up alone. Zuko explains to Iroh why he has been going out at night behind that mask, to help people and to feel like himself again. Iroh listens, calls him a good man, and means it. With Zuko out for the night, Iroh goes somewhere unexpected. He stands before a group that holds to the old ways, the White Lotus. He admits what he's done, asks for forgiveness, and formally rejoins their ranks. Later, Katara slips out again to protect people from the Dai Lai. Zuko spots the situation and jumps in beside her. Together they push back, but not far enough. Both are captured. Toph goes to see her mother. Sokka gets knocked out. Aang, completely alone now, sits still, and something shifts. Bumi's words from episodes ago come back to him, quiet and clear. He goes inward, listens to what's beneath everything, and suddenly he knows. Appa is underground, locked in a cell somewhere deep below. In a flashback above Air Temple Island, we see sky bisons everywhere. Appa is among them, young and free. Aang spots him, offers an apple, and the two connect instantly, a bond that has never broken. Back in the present, that bond is what guides Aang now. He knows Appa is somewhere beneath the ground below. When the Dai Li realize Aang has slipped away, they fan out to search everywhere. Sokka gets grabbed and thrown into a cell, the same one holding Sai, who is very much alive. The two immediately start plotting a way out, eyeing the crystals lining the walls. Elsewhere underground, Katara and Zuko end up sharing a cell after their street fight. She has no idea who he is until he removes his disguise. Shock hits her fast. He tells her he has no interest in fighting anymore. She calls him a monster. He doesn't push back. What follows is unexpected. They talk. Really talk. Both of them lost their mothers to the Fire Nation, and that shared wound opens something between them. Zuko explains his father never wanted him and that he has been searching for his own direction ever since. Katara listens, and in a quiet moment, she holds up water from the spirit Osis, capable of healing the deepest wounds. She offers to use it on him. Toph, meanwhile, sits with Lady Beifong. Her mother announces she will end the Fire Nation business contracts and says she always hoped Toph would one day take over. The conversation feels like a negotiation rather than a heart-to-heart. Beifong has always seen Toph as fragile. She is learning slowly how wrong she has been. She promises things will change. Before Toph can respond, everything shifts. Her tea was spiked. She collapses, and her mother takes her. This was the plan from the start. Toph never saw it coming. In a council chamber, Long Feng addresses his generals about traitors in the city. Azula is standing right there among them. On cue, she steps forward and zaps every military leader in the room with lightning. Long Feng stares at her, stunned. She smiles. This was always her move. Ba Sing Se, she declares, now belongs to the Fire Nation. Aang, hidden by Amida from the searching soldiers, decides he can't wait any longer. He goes after his friends. Iroh appears and joins him without hesitation. When he learns Zuko is also trapped below, the two combine their elemental power and force open an avatar door deep underground. Aang reaches Sokka and Sai first and breaks them out. They move toward Zuko and Katara next. Iroh and Zuko embrace. Aang wants to push on and find Appa. Zuko just wants out. On the way, they pass Ju Di's cell and offer to free her, but the brainwashing has done its damage. She gives away their location immediately. Toph wakes up in a transport heading home, locked in. She understands now. Her mother is ashamed and has never truly seen her. That realization settles something. She reaches out with her power, bends the metal walls apart, tears through, and runs back toward the city. Underground, Aang gets close to Appa's cell. Long Feng appears and makes his pitch. Azula has seized control, so they should work together and escape. He tells Aang that his compassion is a liability. Aang ignores all of it and keeps moving until he finds Appa, reunited. Then Azula finds Zuko. Before striking, she pauses and apologizes for that night in the carriage, for not staying quiet for the moment everything fell apart between them. With the Earth Kingdom on the edge of falling, she extends her hand and invites him to stand beside her. Zuko takes it. He turns against Aang and Katara. The Dai close in around them from every direction. Aang refuses to let anyone else fall. He calls up everything inside him, avatar state, raw and total, and blows through every guard in the room. Azula and Zuko are thrown back, but Aang hesitates. 1 second too long. Azula fires her lightning and it finds him. He drops. Katara pulls him out. Toph returns just in time. Sokka is there. All four escape on Appa, carrying an unconscious Aang into the sky. Below, Fire Nation soldiers march through Ba Sing Se. The city has fallen. But that's where this video ends. Let me know what you think about this series, and as always, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.